You know, the great Dale Carnegie, the legendary author and trainer, said, when dealing with people, remember you're not dealing with creatures of logic, you're dealing with creatures of emotion. Hi, Joe Bozzello here for joebozzello.com and the CAP Equation Sales Methodology. Welcome to this session entitled The Emotional Thermometer, why your best chance of realizing a result on the sales call is on the first call. We're going to talk about, obviously we're going to talk about emotion. I opened with that great quote from Dale Carnegie. And if you've been following along with this curriculum, and you've done all the right things in your presentation, that means you have them at a very high emotional state. And I want you to have the mental picture of a thermometer, like the thermometer, the old thermometers that used to hang outside our stuccoed walls next to our pool when we were growing up. And sometimes our thermometer, where I lived in Los Angeles, got up to 100 degrees, but we would love on a scale of 1 to 10, we'd like every prospect to be at an emotional 10. I think we know that. I think we figured that out. So I want you to think about this thermometer, and maybe when you walk in and sit down, they're a 0 or they're a 2 or 3. And we should be working through the presentation, asking the right questions, evocative questions, questions that evoke passion, questions that touch on the things they really want, the things they desire, the outcomes, the new realities that they want to create in their business or personal life. This really works for B2B. This works for individual kitchen table sales. It really doesn't make a difference. We just want them we know it works when we get them to a higher emotional state. People buy on emotion, and then they reinforce that decision based on logic or good business reasons. We know that. We know that one of the big buying decisions is, when do I buy? Do I buy now? Am I in a hurry to buy? Or should I wait? And really, passion and emotion determines those two. And that determines, that may determine how you make an income and if you eat and your children eat. Remember the Zig Ziglar quote, timid salesperson have skinny kids. So we don't want you to be timid. We want you to be very bold. So if you've done all the right things, hopefully they're at a high emotional state. And hopefully you've accomplished the things that we continue to talk about, the things we continue to teach. We want you to hear them over and over again so they become part of your mantra, part of your value system and belief system. And those things are uncovering multiple needs and opportunities. Learning, asking enough questions so you learn what outcome they want to see, what they desire, and then show them how your solutions create those outcomes for them. And the fourth bullet point, if you're following along on your note sheet, is then you tie those emotionally to the solutions that you have for them. And the last bullet point is really the key point, because this speaks to whether they're going to buy now or buy later or never buy. So hopefully you're pushing all the right emotional buttons by asking them the what I call emotive discovery questions. And those sound something like this. How would this solution change your life or change your business? Where would your business or life be a year from now if we actually facilitated this, we got this done for you? Where would your business be? Where would your life be? What would happen if we don't take this action? If we don't do what we're talking about, what do you think the result will be of that? That's kind of a disturbing question. And then who would benefit most if we put this into action? Who would benefit most in your organization or your family? Where would this help? Who would this help? How do you see this moving you forward or closer to all the goals and objectives you set aside for your family or for your business? So those are some of the emotive questions and passionate questions. So hopefully you've done all the right things. You've asked those questions and great follow-up questions. You've learned what they wanted. You've tied a solution to it. So now you've got them at a heightened emotional state. So where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And really, you have two choices, and this is a short video lesson, but I just wanted to outline these two choices you have. Number one is you can let them off the hook. You could get them to a very high emotional state, and if they say, hey, I want to think about this, I want to mull this over, I want to talk to my spouse, I want to do some more research on this, whatever they say that is a stall, something completely unproductive for everyone in the process, including them. And remember, your job is to help them buy. Is to help them make the right decision. If you really know there's a need there, it's not manipulative, it's not persuasive, really you're helping them make the right decision and make it now versus waiting and maybe never making it. So you've got them at this high emotional state. Are you going to let them off the hook? Are you going to take that stall and run with that stall, which means you may never close them? Or your second option is to close the sale. Be able to get them to say yes and move forward, or at least tell you what their genuine concern is. So if you have them at an 8 or 9 on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say they're at a high emotional state, I want you to think for a second, logically, about what happens when you walk out. Let's say that you opt to do the first option, which is let them off the hook. Where are they if they were at an 8 or 9 and they said, I want to think about it, or I want to mull this over, or why don't we get back together in a few weeks, I'm not ready to make a decision today. And you walk out, where are they on that thermometer, that emotional thermometer, an hour after you walk out? Think about it for a second. You walked out, let's say you're in a business-to-business setting, and you're at their desk, and they shake your hand, you walk out, you're going to get back with them in a couple weeks. So you walk out, what happens? They go back to their inbox, their email inbox, and there are problems. There are problem clients that they have. They run a business. They own a business. They manage a business. They're a decision maker. They have to get payroll ready. They have to get an urgent order out the back door. An hour later, what's their emotional state relevant to your product, your service, or your program? Is it still an 8 or 9? I think you know the answer. It's probably closer to a 1 or a 2. Where is it a week later or 2 weeks later when they ask you to call back? It's probably a 0. That's if they even remember who you are. So that's the emotional thermometer. That's the importance of emotion in this whole closing process, this whole closing sequence. If you use a disciplined closing sequence, you're going to walk away with a definite result. And that's really what we want you to do. We want you to use this cap closing matrix, this closing process, this closing sequence, to get to a definite result the first call. And a definite result would be a yes, no, or a condition with a conditional approval. It isn't a maybe, it isn't I want to think about it. When you have them at an 8 or 9, you will close them most of the time, or at the very least, while they're at an 8 or 9, if you use the ARCO method of overcoming a stall, if they try to stall you, you'll at the very least learn about where they're really at, what their true objection or actual objection is. I hope you've enjoyed some of this content on the closing process. Until next time, this is Joe Bizzello for joebizzello.com. Go have a great day and go sell something.